town board. I'd also like to thank those who have reached out to the DC in a personal capacity and have collected petitions in the community. That's no small feat. And thank you for all you do. Thank you for those who have signed. And please, folks, continue to work with them and others. We're stronger as one. With that, that's the end of my comments, and have a good night, folks.
Thank you, Trustee Fabro. Trustee Fryman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to at least address the issue of the planning board and its impact on residents and businesses in Woodbury. I, this evening, tried to emphasize what I see as a significant delay or a bottleneck in a lot of people's plans, a lot of business plans, to make improvements, to enlarge, to provide new services to the community. There's 12 items on the agenda for this coming meeting. When I was on the planning board, we basically would meet as many as 4 times a month to keep the agenda clear, and so the public wouldn't be there till midnight. 12 items is a big backlog, and the planning board should be having enough meetings each month to keep the backlog down in order to keep progress and the plans of residents and businesses from being basically backed up. The dugout, for example, is already well into the season and is still not made its way through the planning board and all the details of that.
Oh, my God. No.
If you don't
You're
mind.
so ill-informed.
and
Go ahead, finish, please.
The Savory Grill. 3 years ago, this was basically a business that had stopped briefly, but because of the way the code was set up, it ended up having to go through a process of essentially rezoning in order to once again make it a restaurant. The gentleman who had come to basically improve that site and make that restaurant a going operation couldn't survive the delay. His son is now trying to get the restaurant open, but each time before the board, there are new requirements being offered. And I believe that this is just not the role of the planning board, which is to assist applicants in complying with the village code and the master plan. And that's why I think we need to reorganize the way they're structuring the processing of applications. I also wanted to talk about all of the discussion bouncing back about the annexation and the State Environmental Quality Review, the question of lead agency. There seems to be some misapprehension as to what these two things are and what we can talk about. This is not, what we're talking about now is not the issue of the vote that's going to be on the annexation. That's required by state law. In addition to that, all the communities and agencies that are involved have to be consulted to determine which agency is best equipped to do the environmental review to the scale that's required by the State Environmental Quality Review Act. In this case, the attorney that was jointly retained by both the town and the village has prepared the response, which is the one that actually states our case for why the village is best equipped to do this. I have always believed that this is the case because, to begin with, the first issue is which community is most impacted. The mayor said that annexation is probably the biggest thing that we've had happen. I don't think there's any question. These 200 acres in their application are designed for high-density housing. Over 4,000 units can be built under the Kirstorel zoning code. The impact of those units is principally in the village of Woodbury. The attorney clearly made that case, and that's what I support. The village is, because if this goes to some other agency and it short circuits the environmental review, what will be lost is the fact that this annexation is completely contrary to the village master plan, which was supposed to provide for balanced and conservation of resources available to the residents of the community. The character of the community rests in the master plan. That's why this has to be the village responsibility. And the village should be prepared to fund whatever is necessary to have the secret result properly completed. Beyond that, the issue of annexation is fairly obvious, because as the village board, we're committed to the master plan. There's no question that this is not something that in any way can be construed as falling within the village master plan, and therefore I am supporting wholeheartedly the legal response that's been provided by the village and town to the DEC. This is why they make the decision on this, not by popular vote, but by the weight of evidence. And the weight of evidence is clear. On a more joyous note, I envy Mickey and his retirement from this. I respect you greatly. People that gets their hands dirty in work are really what makes things work, not only in the village, but in our nation. And that's what Mickey did. And so I thank you very much.
Okay, nothing political there. Let me just say this. It's not that the owner of Who's couldn't survive the planning board process. He couldn't survive cancer, and he had been battling cancer for many years, okay? So it's not a planning board issue. I will be the first to tell you that Chris Gerver is probably the best planning board chairman in Orange County, in my opinion. It is like having another attorney on that board. To suggest Evan Yam, who I appointed to the board, interviewed, everything else like that, without asking him whether he'd be interested in the position, is an insult to Chris Gerver. And that's 2 years in a row, because last year we were being told that Chris didn't have his proper certifications, training, and everything else like that. Meanwhile, Chris Gerver is the guy who set it all up, okay? He's overqualified. He overtrains. So, and in terms of the ice cream parlor, in terms of the dugout, so first of all, that hasn't been sitting around for months, okay? Here's what happens when you deal with somebody who believes they are the sun, and we are all a group of planets that revolve around them. They were required by the planning board to do two things, and correct me at any moment. Paint the building, add gravel, okay? That's not what was done, okay? So the site plan that they put forward to the planning board became kind of null and void, because when they went to the meeting, or when they were going to go to the meeting, the planning board would not be voting on what was initially introduced. Now it was completely different, okay? Because the gravel was removed and they decided to pave the entire parking lot, then what you had was a question of he needing a SWIFT permit, okay? Drainage. What's that? Drainage. Oh, the drainage, when they paved, the drainage was removed completely. So now you have water that rushes onto Route 32, okay? So you need to involve the DEC now, because he also cleared a whole ton of area back there. Their DOH permit expired. Escrow was gone. They never had an inspection done on the inside of the place. No Department of Health. That's what the DOH permit. So this is not a planning board issue. This is an applicant issue. Now, nobody wants the ice cream parlor open more than me, and I have diabetes. So I shouldn't want but I do, because I know how good it is for the community. I know it brings back memories, and I have been working diligently, okay, for the ice cream parlor, all right, or for the dugout to be open. It is not a planning board issue, okay? The planning, I'm not even going to get into it any further, but that is what's going on with the dugout. They are on the agenda for the June 18th meeting. Next week, next Wednesday. I am keeping my fingers crossed that they have everything turned in, because that was the other issue, okay? If everything is turned in, they will stand in front of this board once again, and then hopefully be open for the 4th of July weekend. And then we can all get diabetes together, okay?
If I can just say one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just think that before you cast stones, maybe you should listen to these meetings, because they're full of information. I listen to every single planning
do I.
board meeting, and you would know a lot of this information if you actually listen to it, and then you pass by and you see, you know what was approved, and you see what was done. So if you actually listen to the planning board meetings, you will have all the facts instead of casting stones here about that it's the planning board. This is absolutely an applicant issue, not a planning board issue.
Applicant consultants that don't really know what they're supposed to be doing at times, some of them, and the clients that they deal with. So I agree, it is not a planning board issue. There are five volunteers. And I actually think we have a really good planning board at this point. This is, I think, one of the best we've ever had. So, anyway.
The agenda this month is so long because we're wrapping up a number of applications.
Yes.
We're wrapping up a number of applications so that people can.
Yeah. And by the way, Chris, so everybody knows here, when the planning board has needed a second meeting for larger applications, they have scheduled those, like the Woodbury Commons or the TOD, the Transit Oriented Development. They have put those together as separate meetings, and then maybe some things to throw in there coming up. There you go. So anyway, I'm going to save my comments about Mickey to the next meeting. Hopefully you'll be here. You won't be anywhere else. I may get a little emotional, okay? I will wear women's clothing because that's what you like to see me in. There it is. Anyway, Maria, I don't know if I said this at the last meeting. You did a wonderful job at the Memorial Day Parade. I think that's it. Have a great Father's Day. And, heck yeah, I just got to make sure I find it. What did I do with it? All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. No further business to discuss or comments received. Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting? Second by Trustee Fabro. All in favor? Your next scheduled meeting is June 26th. It's Mickey's last meeting. Bring pastries. Until then, remember, Chuck Norris doesn't have an escape key on his computer because there's no escaping Chuck Norris. Come on. You got to give me something on that.